I was having a conversation with my son one time. We was riding to school. We got a routine in the morning. Like, we get up 4:30, we go for a 5-mile run, and then come back to the house. Get back to the house about 5:45-ish. They shower, and I got 3. They shower, I shower, we have breakfast, and then we get ready to go. It's a form of tithe, and I believe it's a realer form of tithe than how I've been taught growing up. The traditional sense of tithe, not that there's anything wrong with it. Yeah, that's a form of tithe. It's a very low, mediocre form of tithe in my opinion, because there's no grit involved. Like, there's no real sacrifice. Like, if you're a 9-to-5er and you know how much you're gonna make each week, it's not hard to say, okay, well, let me put 10% of that aside. There's no sacrifice after a while. It's just like, it's on auto pay. It's like, okay, it's taken out. We're good. You know, it's one less thing we got to worry about. I view waking up early, like waking up early. First of all, if you don't have to, if you're not obligated to wake up that early, yeah, because of your job, you might have to wake up an hour, 2 hours, however long you choose to take to prepare prior to getting ready for work. But like, they don't have to be to school till 8 o'clock, right? We're getting up at 4:30, right? None of us have to be up that early. That's why I consider it tithe, because first of all, it's gritty. Like, who wants to wake up that early if they don't have to? You know, we're putting in this sacrifice, in a sense, this energy. We're giving over this energy first thing in the morning, this grit that we don't want to give up, but it creates discipline. It creates structure. So waking up early, that's gritty. And then going and running 5 miles, that's even grittier than waking up, than just simply waking up. Yeah, it's one thing to wake up. Now, I don't know, I find now that it's easier for me to run than it is to wake up. Like, waking up to me is the harder grit. Like, I really don't like to wake up early. Them sheets be feeling good. So yeah, I really don't like to wake up early. You know, you think about like 10% of your day, it's like, yeah, like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Anyhow, all I'm saying is, like, being that it's at the start of the day, oh, and then after the run, taking a cold shower, that's more grit on top of that. So I look at it all as it's a tithing. You know what I mean? I'm giving up 10% of my day every day to give this sacrifice that I don't want to give. You know what I'm saying? I'm presenting my body as a sacrifice. Like, it's something I don't feel like doing, but I'm doing for a better cause, kind of like an investment. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting this money, I'm putting this energy out, this investment. What I've seen though, as a result of the run every single day, is like, with my kids, it makes them calmer. Like, now they're not fighting with each other. This one's not getting on this one's nerves and vice versa. They're going to school cool. Yeah, they're just calmer all the way around. They're more focused, and then they sleep better at night. They sleep through the entire night. I mean, they've always slept through the night, but like, now they're going to sleep earlier. They're in shape. They're looking good. They're feeling good. I'm feeling good. To me, like I said, it's tithing. Anyhow, after that, we get in the car, we're driving, and it's about an hour drive to the school, give or take, and we just chop it up. Sorry, I had my sound in my ears got hot for a moment, so I had to take it out for a moment. Getting back to what I was saying, me and my son, we have a conversation. We're talking one day, and he's like, we're talking about zodiac signs. He's like, you know, you're a Scorpio, so you were born into the world like post Halloween. It was like immediately when he said it, this thought came to me. I'm like, yo, that makes so much sense. Like, why I am the way I am. You know, Scorpios are, if you look at a Scorpio's color palette, it's usually darker colors like blacks and navy blue, dark burgundy. Like, it's a dark set of colors that they just naturally gravitate towards. And I noticed that within like how I dress and stuff. Like, I just naturally gravitate toward darker colors, darker things, goth type subjects. Like, I'm into scary movies heavy. That stuff doesn't bother me. Whereas other people, they're like, nah, I'm not trying to invite those kind of spirits in my house and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, yo. But for me, I'm naturally in tune to gravitating towards those type of things. And it makes sense. You know, you think about it in terms of like energy, or in terms of like planting a seed. When you plant a seed, that seed doesn't begin to sprout roots immediately the day you plant it. It takes time, and it sprouts, and then the process goes on, so on and so forth. The tree pops up. I consider myself a real Scorpio because I'm a November Scorpio. And yeah, thinking about it when I was having a conversation with my son, it's like, yo, October 31st is Halloween. You know, you get all this dark energy put out into the universe, and following that, the Scorpios that come after that, you know, they're getting that, they're being birthed into a world with that, where that dark energy's just been put into the world. If that makes sense, kind of like a Capricorn. My wife's a Capricorn, so I consider, and she considers, January Capricorns to be real Capricorns. Nothing against December Capricorns, but it's New Year's Day. It's January 1st when the world, for the most part, a lot of people decide, okay, new year, new me. They start putting their the intention of putting their new resolution into practice is eminent in the world at that time. So this energy of, I want to be the best that I can be this year. I want to do the best that I can do. Like, there's a massive surge of that energy being put in the world. So it makes sense why a Capricorn is the way they are. I had a conversation with somebody about this one time. They was like, oh, zodiac sign, that stuff is not real. That stuff is not godly. I'm like, okay, fine. Just look at it from a scientific standpoint. A Capricorn is somebody who's birthed into the universe when the energy, okay, maybe you don't believe in energy, but the mindset of most people, the influence that comes from the mindset is, we're going to be our best self this year. Yo, no days off at the gym. So somebody being born into the world at that time, they're being born into the world when the world is full of that kind of energy. So to me, that makes sense why Capricorns are ambitious and they're driven, and like all these qualities that you read about a Capricorn. You know, I always tell my middle son, I'm like, you know, we get along well because he's a Pisces. You know, without the Pisces, the Scorpio wouldn't be possible. You know what I mean? Like, Pisces season, Valentine's season, that's the season where where some Scorpios are created, where many Scorpios are created. It's that sensual season. That's why Scorpios have a lot of high sexual energy. That's just my theory. The season of the Pisces, the love season, the season where Valentine's Day is happening. You know what I'm saying? That's the kind of energy being put out into the world during the conception of the Scorpio eggs. Anyhow, that's just like some of the conversations like me and my kids be having. One time, my middle son, we were talking about like the LGBT, you know, and nothing against them, but I was telling him, I said, you know, me personally, hey, to each their own. Me personally, I like real. And what I mean by that is, biologically, a man and another man can't naturally. Funny, somebody tried to argue with me about that one time. Yes, it is natural. It can be natural. I said, how can it be natural? Well, they have methods now, but that's science. You got to bring in a third party. I'm talking about like two people born with no resources, no nothing, like just naturally, you know, they become of age where they're adolescent, where they're make babies. Basically, you get the point. They're able to make babies. You know what I mean? It's late, yo. Like, my mind is not. That's one thing I notice about myself. Like, my thoughts, they fire in the morning. Like, oh my gosh. But in the evening, forget about it, yo. After 3 o'clock, it was so funny. I heard somebody say that once. He said, I never make important decisions after 3 o'clock. And I'm like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. Because after 3 o'clock, yo, my mind is on turn down. Like, it begins, it's like a plane. Like, the plane takes off in the morning and that thing is up here. And then after 3 o'clock, it's like, yo, y'all prepare. We've begun the initial, what do they say on a plane when a plane starts to descend? They say, you know, attention passengers, we're beginning our flight descent, something to that effect. So yeah, after 3 o'clock, it's like, yo, mentally, my mind starts to descend, like little by little more. We going into turn down mode. We ready for sleep. But yeah, you know, back to what I was saying with my middle son. Like, nothing against the community. I just told him, I said, you know, me, I personally am a fan of real, and I believe real is, you know, with no science, no technology, two people coming together to create new life. You know what I mean? Nothing against the community, but if everybody were a part of the community, everybody on earth, we would need to figure out scientific methods for creating new life, because new life at that point could not be recreated. Nothing against it, but if you're thinking in terms of like the highest standard one can live to me, a godly standard aligns with real. All things real, you know, like you it can't be denied. You know what I mean? Like, biology can't be denied. It's natural. It just is what it is, yo. It's just naturally the way things work. That doesn't mean that, because you have to do that. You know what I mean? You can move any way you choose to. But in moving a certain way, it might cost you a little more, because it's not real. It's not natural. Just to conceive naturally, that's free. It requires nothing. And that's what makes it real, in my opinion. There's no science needed, no manipulation. It just is what it is. It comes together naturally. I had this thought the other day. It's nice to have friends. Like, friendships are so valuable. And one of the things that make friendships so valuable is that when you've got a friend who you trust, who you can be completely open, honest, and vulnerable with, see, that's that brain work. I'll tell you, if this was 8 o'clock in the morning, I'd be firing. Like, yeah, let's go. But yeah, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, like that, I'm usually asleep. Like, this is not I just happen to feel inspired tonight. So I said, let me come in and get on the mic for a little bit. Pause. It's crazy. I remember hearing this pastor say one time, people don't get saved in masses. People don't get saved in groups. People get saved in one-on-one interactions, one-on-one sessions. Because what a real friend provides is therapy, in a sense. Somebody that you can go and be completely honest with, completely vulnerable and open with, and you can trust. Now, granted, it has to build up to that point. You know what I mean? And for some people, it's hard because you might have been let down by a friend before. Same thing with relationships. It's like, if you're in a relationship and your spouse or significant other decides to slide on you, decides to step out. Like, I remember my brother-in-law said this regarding friendship. Me and a friend of mine had a fallout one time. I was telling my brother-in-law is so cool, yo. Like, we go to the house, so he's like, Daryl, you want some burgers? I got burgers. And he be having burgers, like he'll have a platter of burgers in the middle of the kitchen on the island, and it'll be like 40 burgers, yo. Like, it's food for days. I got cold cuts in the fridge. Like, they got food for days. But anyhow, he was telling me one time when I told him, I said, yeah, me and this dude, we had a falling out, because he had asked me about a friend of mine that he met one time when he came to Florida. And I said, no, we had a falling out. And he was like, I told him why and everything. And he was like, the friendship will never be the same again. It's true. It's just like a relationship. Like I said, if you're in a relationship and somebody slides, like, you know what it feels like? It feels like driving on the highway. Maybe it's known, maybe it's unbeknownst to you. You suspect your tire sounds kind of funny, but you're like, we still riding though. You know what I'm saying? You're like, nah, we good. We been good. We still good. You kind of suspect your tire's been, acting funny, and maybe you don't suspect it at all. Maybe there was no signs, but all of a sudden one day that tire blows out. You know what I mean? Even if you go and buy a new tire after that, anytime you feel the slightest bump, the slightest sensation of a bump, you're always going to question in your mind, oh shoot, is this tire about to blow out? Like, should I go get another tire? Like, that's the feeling of being betrayed. There's two types of people. There's people that happens to, and okay, they get a new tire. Same thing, they hear a bump or something, like something's kind of off, but they'll check the tire now. Like, hold on, let's check, let's make sure. You know what I mean? All right, we good. But then there's those people that if they feel that slightest bump immediately, they're like, nope, I don't trust it. I'm buying a new tire. And those are usually the people that you see getting married multiple times and being with multiple partners. They on Facebook with this person, showing all these pictures off how happy they are, and I got the best man, or I got the best girl, whatever the case is. 3 weeks later, they're single again. 4 weeks later, they're with somebody else, posting the pictures again. Oh yeah, look at this. We taking a trip to Mexico, and it's like, yo, you was just with that dude last week, or you was just with this chick last week. Like, what? Like, make up your mind. Every time they feel the slightest bit of bump in that tire, like something seems off, every time like any little thing says, nah, this person ain't perfect, they're ready to go. All right. So anyhow, back to friendships. It's a beautiful thing to have good friends in your life. Good friends I believe good friendships are valuable currency. Like being in a great relationship and being in a good friendship, you only need one. You don't need, if you got more than one, great. You've got a community at that point. But if you got one good friend or you got a good spouse, like those things are priceless. Yo, that's valuable. All right, somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can go to. Let me tell you about my best friend. Yo, my best friend is a wise counselor. Yo, like, it was so crazy how we met. We met one time. I was in church, and the way I was brought up, like, if your kids do something in church, act up, you got to let them know, like, yo, F around, you're going to find out. I will lay hands, in a sense. That was the rubric for how I was brought up, and maybe some people in my generation, maybe not, but that's how I was brought up. So one day he was in church and they was saying a prayer, and my son, I don't know what he was doing. He was making noise, and I just kind of raised my head up and I looked at him and I just stretched my eyes a little bit, like gave him that look, like, and he straightened up immediately. And my boy, he wasn't my best friend at the time. He wasn't even my boy. He was just a new dude to the church, yo. Came up to me afterwards and he was like, yo, just want to let you know, man, the way you handled your son, like, that's how it's done, bro. Like, you just looked at him, put the fear in God. He said, yo, I respect that. And we just became friends after that, yo. Fast forward, we hanging out, we taking trips together, like, we doing jobs together, like, we've done so much together over the years. And he's been a counselor. I'll give you another example of, and like, okay, 'cause the first time was affirmation. The affirmation is what, opened the doorway for me, yo. Affirmations. Okay, in the last episode, I mentioned how new thoughts sometimes is like getting a new home. And, this new home's got all these bedrooms. Now, just imagine all these bedrooms having closed and locked doors. You got a bunch of bedrooms in this massive new mansion. All right, your mind is this home. And you've got all these rooms with locked doors. All right. And for each room you open, that's like a new thought within that thought. And now your mind goes to attracting people, experiences, ideas, ideologies, and different things to fill those rooms. And this is what creates your arsenal of wisdom as you go through the game of life, as you get older. Because you should be progressing each year. You should never be cycling or regressing. You should be progressing. A few people have talked about this. Like, you should be progressing. If you believe in God, you should believe that one day you're going to see God, and God is going to show you the ideal version of you that he had in mind. Like, yo, I want you to meet somebody. This is the ideal, perfect version of you that I had in mind. All right. And if you're a wise individual, you want to look exactly like that person, if not better. You want to be exactly that ideal image, if not better. And the only way to do that is to evolve, is to grow. Circling back, new thoughts is like a new home. It's got all these new bedrooms. And affirmations are the keys to unlock the doors of those bedrooms sometimes, because affirmations provide awareness. They provide a greater sense of understanding, a greater sense of reason. So one day we was at the fair, and my kids were young during this time, and I got a rule. Well, I still implement that rule, but not as aggressively, I guess, if you will, as I did when my kids were younger. When they were younger, and this was something I took from another friend of mine. He has this rule, he used to have this rule with his daughter. He said, look, if I am, what he say, if I can't reach out and grab you, you're standing too far from me. I was like, I like that. So I tell my kids, like, you stay in my sight. When we out in public, you stay in my sight. Like, I don't disappear from my sight. You know what I mean? It's crazy people in this world. I don't know, but seriously, like, that was one of the things that I was always, in a sense, indoctrinated with, like, that philosophy of, like, there's crazy people in this world. So I just can't help but be a little overprotective at times, or be a little more protective than some parents. I don't want to say overprotective, but more protective than some parents. Like, my kids are getting older now, so now I'm starting to, give them more slack. Let them do stuff on their own. You know what I mean? But during this time, they were young. So yeah, we just got to the fair probably like 20 minutes prior, and my son disappeared. My oldest son, he disappeared. And I'm like, and then he just pops up like nothing. Hey, what's up? Just pops up like nothing. I was like, I got something for you when we get home. I said, you wait till we get home. And my best friend, he's like, D, can I talk to you real quick? Pulls me over to the side privately. He says, bro, I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your kid, by no means. He said, but I just want you to consider this. He said, and this is how my best friend speaks. It's like, D, I just want to let you know, I'm not trying to condemn your parenting. I'm not trying to tell you how to parent your kids, but my best friend is extremely reasonable. So anytime he says something, I'm all ears. He always does this. He goes, however, he doesn't say but, he says, however, with that being said, keep in mind, you were that age once. You were at the fair, you're excited. I get it. I completely get it. The kids are at the fair, they're excited. We don't get together often like this. This is a rare occasion. So what we're doing today, we're creating a memory. All right. How's your boy supposed to have fun today, knowing that when he gets home, he's going to be in trouble? And that's going to always be the memory of this day that we had together at the fair. Like, how easy is it for us to come together? Me and my best friend, we live 2 hours from each other. So he's saying stuff and I'm just like, yeah, you're right, Chuck. You're right, bro. My bad. Yeah, I'm freaking up. Like, I'm too aggressive. You know what I mean? Like, I'm freaking up. And, that's a real friend, though. Like, somebody that makes you better as a result of their level of reason. Like, my best friend is so crazy. His level of reason is just like my wife. So it's like he's the male version of my wife. Like, he's the perfect friend, because he's so reasonable and he's so wise, and he's always like, I don't know, he just gives me like some wise counsel. I tell him everything too. I'm like, yo, bro, I ain't gonna front, bro. Like, it's some fire coming my way. You know what I'm saying? And I'd be tempted to play with the fire. My best friend will tell me, D, that's an illusion. Don't get tempted by that illusion, bro. That's something Patrick Bet-David said. He said, if your friends, he said, when you have issues with your spouse, if you're the type of person that goes and mentions that to your friends, and your friends aren't taking your spouse's side in the matter, them ain't friends you need to have. Them ain't you. Now, granted, okay, if it's something unreasonable, like your spouse is stepping out, you know what I'm saying? 'Cause my best friend, he ain't gonna put up with that. F that. That's the benediction, yo. It's done. Yeah. But for like things that are more reasonable, yeah, we had a fight. Well, hold on now. Are you looking? I know you're upset, but are you considering her point of view? All right. Now, those are the type of friends that it's crazy. And it falls under the same rhythm. See, cycling versus breaking the routine. Because when you break the routine is when you evolve. So my best friend telling me what he told me at the fair, that broke a routine. Because the routine, the rhythm that I had been indoctrinated to understand was, if your kid disrespects you in any way, you know what I mean? Like, it's they in trouble. My best friend said, nah, yo, hold on. Consider this. Like, it wasn't exemplified to be, and I'm not getting at my peeps. I'm not getting at the generation that came before me. I don't fault them, because I believe they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had during that time, with the awareness that they had during that time. They functioned, I believe, at the highest level of truth that they could for that time. And I believe that their desire or their intention, just like my intention now, was to only get better, was to constantly evolve. And I think evolution happens as a result of, kind of like that preacher said, like I mentioned earlier, like that pastor said, people aren't saved in masses or groups. Like, yeah, people like groups. Groups look good. Groups look fun. Groups look like, because the group doing something together, it's fun. It is fun, yo. Ain't nothing wrong with a group setting. Groups are fun. But at the end of the night, each individual from that group got to go home alone. if it's a group of couples, each couple is going home as a sole separate couple. So couples could be cool in a group setting and go home and be it be wild at the house, you know what I'm saying? Not in a good way. You know, for some it could be wild in a good way. Like, yo, them niggas is free. But, you know, as single people, like, it's cool, yo. You get together collectively as a group, but then at the end of the day, everybody's going home as single individuals. So, and here's the thing, I've learned for myself with groups, like, it's not as easy to get that same level of therapy as it is in a one-on-one. You giving out information to anybody is like lending tools. You know, if you lending your tools to one person, you know exactly who's got them tools. Like, nah, I lent that pair of pliers to this individual, so I know, okay, he's got that pair of pliers. Whereas if it's a group and you lending tools out to the whole group, you don't know who's got what when. So if something gets leaked, it's like, yo, you know, if a tool gets lost, it's like, yo, who the frick had my who had my wrench? Like, who, you know what I'm saying? I gave it to one of y'all. Who had it? Like, it's not as easy to find the mule in a group as in a one-on-one. Nothing wrong with groups, again. But like real, again, going back to like real relationships are formed in more of a, granted, there are variables where groups, like small groups, for example, you know, that's biblical, where 2 or 3 are gathered, you know what I'm saying? You got 2 good friends. Smaller groups, okay, that's different. Like, yeah, okay, we maintain that confidentiality. Big groups, though, is where like stuff gets leaked, certain things get said. You know, that's why I've never been a fan of, like, I've never personally been a fan of or believed in like the whole idea of like when you go to a church and they have like testimonial service and, you know, people are sharing their business. Oh yeah, I did this and I did. It's like you're sharing it with the intention of lending out something valuable to you. Vulnerability is valuable. You know what I'm saying? This is you and your realness, who you really are. So you're putting that out there, hoping to receive a reasonable level of reciprocation. You know what I'm saying? People respect, basically. Respect from individuals, people understanding, maybe comfort, whatever it is you're looking to receive. Ultimately, you're looking to receive attention in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Attention. You know what I mean? But you could wind up getting the wrong attention if you put your stuff out there to the wrong people. Oh, I've been there. You know? Yeah. I like the way one of my boys described it. He's like, yo, I got my outer circle of friends. Like, you know, that's people you cool with, you hang with from time to time, you might politic with, but those aren't like the people you get like balls deep vulnerable with. Pause. Those aren't the people like you really expose you to. So having one good friend to be able to expose yourself to, that's cool. You know what I mean? Having 2, that's grand. You know? And all right, I'm done talking about the friend stuff because I could feel myself pod fading talking about that, yo. Like, yeah, it's just a point I wanted to make. Like, it was something I realized, it was a thought, and I wanted to get the thought off my chest. It's not something that, oh, I'm trying to teach you about, you know, like how to have friends or anything. Like, it's just a thought. I just wanted to get that off my chest. I would rather talk about the Zodiac thing because it's crazy. Like, you know what? Now, one thing I do want to talk about, I'll tell you what's hard for me is like with this whole process, like That's Vital. One thing I'm realizing about That's Vital is that That's Vital, my intention is to bring awareness, you know, of things that may get lost in the subconscious and never brought to the conscious. You know what I'm saying? For some people, not for all people. But yeah, bring a heightened level of awareness, heightened level of understanding for some, maybe many. And I'm realizing that That's Vital, a big part of it is also, it's me. It's a reflection of me. It's my personal development journey. It's literally like a deconstructing of the miseducation of my indoctrination. Yeah, that's what it really is. Cause like I'm learning things, I'm realizing things, you know, on a deeper level, on a grander scale for myself. And see, I'm the type of person that, like, you know how they say they got those memes, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like once I know something, like once I know something's better, I can't not know something's better and then not do better. You know, like for example, with the tithe thing, like, yeah, okay, yeah, giving money, yeah, that's cool, but that's a very low form of tithing. Like that's a mediocre, like you're just doing the bare minimum just to get by. And that may be unbeknownst to some. I'm not getting on anybody for that if that's your method, you know, but it's a very low, to me, that's a very low standard of what tithing is in comparison to like getting out there and subjecting yourself to and I've seen the manifestation of, I don't want to say that, I don't want to sound like a preacher. I'm not that, you know what I mean? Nothing against them. That's not who I am. That's not what I desire to be. But like I've seen the cause and effect, basically. Like I've seen the effect of putting out that grit. Like when I go to the gym, I was just telling my sister this recently. When I go to the gym and I'm pushing whatever it is I'm doing, I like to do a lot of leg workouts. So I like I'll give you an example. My wife and I, we love the hip abductor machines. That's the machines where you sit and you got one where you're bringing your legs in, you know, and then you got the other where you're pushing your legs out. You know, I love those, the hip abductors and the hip adductor machines. So when we're on those on this leg day and we're doing those, like when I push beyond failure, and then I realized, wait a minute, I could go 5 or 6 beyond failure, or I could go 10 beyond failure. And it's like, yo, I wasn't even feeling, I'm tripping, yo, take the weight up. When I push beyond whatever my previous record was, whatever weight or set of reps that I plateaued at last time, whatever it was, when I push beyond that, like, and far beyond that, if I push far beyond that, the effect is greater. But when I push beyond that, it's like I just unlocked a new room. You know, that's another way, that's another key. Yeah, to unlock. It's like I just unlocked a new room because I just unlocked, it is, yes. I just unlocked a new thought in my mind that, yo, this is no longer my limit. You know what I mean? You know, 200 pounds is no longer my limit. Now I can do 230 pounds or 300 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like that's no longer my limit. Now we're doing 315. You know what I'm saying? Like when I push beyond those limits physically, mentally, it's like limits. There's no limits anymore, yo. It's like there's the only way that there's a limit is if you set a limit or if you allow a limit to be set. You know what I mean? You can set a limit by being stuck to, oh, this is a good one, yo. So earlier today, my boy had been telling me, he's like, yo, D, you got to get this air freshener, the Supernova. I was like, all right, I'll check out the Supernova. It's the little trees, you know. You get like 3 in a pack for $2.88. Little Trees classic air freshener. I love Little Trees, yo. So, all right, I go and get the Little Tree Supernova scent, and I'm looking at the back of the packaging, and I see a little diagram where it's showing how you're supposed to use it. You open the bag and you just slide the bag down slightly. You know, you leave the bag on the little tree hanging off the dash. And I'm like, man, that's ghetto. I'm not doing that. Like that's a broke person mentality, yo. Like seriously, I'm taking that thing out the bag fully because that looks ghetto, yo, to sit up there and have a plastic bag hanging around my tree just to preserve the scent of that thing longer. Like, my car is not getting dirty in 3 days. You know what I'm saying? That scent will last me a week, and then or however long it lasts, and then when it's done, I'll just put another one up. Like, it's not that big a deal. When I'm done with the pack, if I want some more, I'll just go buy another pack. But like trying to preserve a little $2 air freshener, like that just sounds like some cheap crap to me. And it made me think of what Robert Kiyosaki said when he said savers are losers. And like I never thought about it the way I thought about it today. Like that's a really true statement, because it's nothing against people that save. There's nothing wrong with that. But a saver's mentality is a mentality of preservation. It's like preserving what you got, holding on to what you got. Even if it ain't serving you no more, you're still holding on to it. I went to do a job for somebody one time. He wanted me to replace a piece inside of his ceiling fan that broke. And I'm like, why don't you just buy a new ceiling fan? Like, it's going to cost you the same amount for me to repair this ceiling fan as it would if you bought a new ceiling fan and I just installed it new. You know, and at least then you'll have a new fan. You won't have this issue. You know, but people get trapped in that mindset of like saving, holding on to stuff. You know, people probably got grandparents got a bunch of stuff hoarded up in their garage or up in their house, because it's like that was the mentality back then. You got to save everything. You got to save. You got to hold on to it. To each their own. There's people that rhythm works better for them to be more to fall on the side. Now, granted, there's a time, a season, and I'm bad. I'm losing my train of thought. It's the word I'm looking for. There's a time, there's a season, and there are, man, the word is not coming to me. I want to say occurrences, but that's not the word. But basic circumstances. There's circumstances where it's necessary to save. You know what I mean? Like if you're self-employed and it's a slow season of the year, it's necessary to cut back on some stuff. Like, yo, hold on now. That bread ain't coming in like it was in the summertime. You know what I mean? Like, yo, we need to cut back, bro. You know what I mean? We need to cut back on some of that spending during this point in time. All right? And that's not what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. He's talking about somebody who rigidly only sticks to the mentality of saving no matter what. You know, of preserving no matter what. Like, you got to hold on to whatever it is you have, because that's a rhythm, and rhythms play out in our lives in other areas unbeknownst to us. So a person that might rigidly be stuck to being a saver, you know, preserving in that way, that rhythm or that energy of preserving, of I got to hold on to this and I got to hold on to that, might play out in like relationships, for example, where now they find themselves in an abusive relationship. And I talked to a guy that had that happen, where he was in an abusive relationship, and I'm like, bro, like, why don't you just leave? Like, there's nothing to stay for. My bad. I'm seeing something. I'm sorry. It was something white I was seeing. Anyhow, but yeah, I was talking to a guy once regarding that, and he was in a, you know, from what he described to me, it was conveyed an abusive relationship. And I said, like, why are you dealing with that? Like, why don't you get out, bro? Nah, man, I've been taught, you know, when you get married, it's for life. You know, God don't like that. He don't like divorce and blah, blah, blah. Right, that's that saver's mentality. You know what I'm saying? Where you just holding on, you preserving something that it ain't growing you, it ain't serving you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get that. You know, you know, when you marry somebody, yeah, you want to stay with that person for life. I get that, but this is the thing. Nobody's perfect. You know, if you frick up and you marry the wrong one, like, you married the wrong one. That's it. You know what I mean? Hey, you fricked up. You know what I mean? You had the correct knowledge, or maybe you just didn't understand and you failed under the correct knowledge. Failing under correct knowledge. You just drop an F-bomb and keep it pushing. You know what I'm saying? Say frick it. It's done. I'm trying to be clean. That's why I said frick instead of, plus my kids are still up. So, but, you know, laboring under correct knowledge is luck. So failing under correct knowledge would be, you know, you effed up, basically. For anybody who didn't get that, you know. But yeah, so that rigid mentality of like, I gotta hold on to this, I gotta preserve this, I gotta save this, I gotta say, it's a rhythm. And that's another thing I realized, yo, life is comprised of rhythms. It really is. And what's attractive in life is breaking the routine. And it's just like music, yo. It's like hearing a song. I'm a musician. You see the kid. I'm a musician, and I'm a musician. I like chops. Yeah, the groove is cool when it's a good groove. You know, everybody likes a good groove. When you're in a season of abundance where it's like you're traveling, you know, you're going to work, you're traveling, you're taking trips, money's flowing, it's coming in. You want to stay on that good groove. Like, yeah, this is a good groove right here. You know what I'm saying? But when it's a low season and that groove ain't really rocking to your standards, like, you need something to break that routine. We need some chops to break that routine up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need, like, if it's a season where you've not been traveling, you've not been taking vacations, the money's not been flowing abundantly, and you're miserable, it's like, yo, I need something new to happen. I need something spontaneous. And just like music, you know, when that beat, okay, yeah, that beat then got, it's a good beat, but it then got kind of old now. I need to hear some chops. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, that's what people like, yo. People like some chops. People like that break in the routine. That's what enhances relationships, you know, breaking that monotony, breaking the routine, breaking the cycle. You know, you only evolve when you break the cycle. You know what I'm saying? Music has now evolved as a result of breaking the cycle, yo. Nothing against old music, but you know, old music was a lot of just straight groove, and that's cool. That's how my father used to teach me. He's like, yo, you want the big bucks, you want to make money, develop that pocket, stay in that pocket, get that. And it's crazy because his generation, that was the standard. And not to say that that's not the standard. I'm segueing now into a music talk, but not to say that that's not the standard. But it was this dude that I met, and he was saying the same thing, but the language that he was saying it in, I was able to better convey. Instead of saying, yo, stay in the pocket, you know, develop that tight groove. One day he was just like, hey, when we do this part of the song, all I need you to do is give me some feel. I said, I just need feel. For some reason, when he said that, like, and to me, this dude is the best, one of the best music instructors that I've personally known. Dude named Mark. A friend of mine told me, he said, yo, one thing of it, and it's funny, yo, because they had just had a falling out, and he was like, yo, but one thing I could say about that dude, like, I respect that dude. That dude is the best music instructor. Like, he breeds great musicians. And it's true, because he's so patient and he's so compassionate and so just understanding. Like, we was playing this. I play a lot of church gigs, yo. I'm always, you know, playing at a different church, so we from time to time. So I used to play at this church together with him, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I was freaking up. You know, it was like new church, new music. I don't know. This night, I was off this night. I just couldn't get it. And it was this note he wanted me to hit. It was an accent. And he was like, you know, make sure, like, don't miss that accent, you know? So we're playing, and, you know, service is going on. The song, we're going through the song. I'm not recognizing the song, and I'm doing my thing. And all of a sudden, here comes the accent. And I missed the accent. And I looked over at him, and he was just like, but he was like, he just kept playing, yo. And I love that, because, like, people that grew up, like, well, not people that grew up, but like people that taught me earlier in life, like people from like my father's generation, for example. And this dude is around the same age as my father, but he's cut from a different cloth. Like, people, nothing against my father, but people that, like, the musicians my father was around, like, these was like hard critics, yo. Kind of like that movie, man, what's that movie about? I don't even know what it's called, yo. It's a drum movie where the dude, like, he's playing at one point, he's playing and his knuckles start bleeding because he's playing so hard. But like the teacher, the coach in that movie, like, that dude was a hard instructor. Like, that's the type of people that I've always had instructing me. It was like hard critics, hard instructors. Like, you know, you got to do it like this. Like, this is the standard. Like, until you doing it, it's like, until you're a perfect, now what's said, what's communicated, until you're a perfect copycat of this person, you're not great. And you'll never be great until you're a perfect copycat. That's not what was said. That's what was communicated. All right, you got to do it like this. You know. So anyhow, you know, I say different strokes for different folks, because, like, no matter how hard they tried to beat their philosophy into me, it was like I was getting it, but I never felt within myself inclined to move in that way. Because, like, every time I heard it, it was just so boring to me. Like, yeah, play pocket, stay in the groove. Like, it just sounds, that verbiage, that it just sounds monotonous to me. When my man said, yo, just give me feel. Like, energy is something you could feel. I get that. I could give you something you could feel. When I hear that, it sounds like, yo, give me something that I could do this to. You know what I'm saying? One of the beauties of being a musician is connecting with somebody in the audience. You know, it's when you're in that groove and you're bobbing your head and you're chilling, And this not for everybody. This somebody who's listening that might be a musician, and you look out in the audience and you just connect with that person who they're bobbing their head the same way you're bobbing your head. It's like y'all in agreement. It's like, yeah, you feeling this groove, right? This groove is rocking. You know what I mean? Like y'all are bobbing. It's like, yes, yo. It's like having a conversation without having a conversation, but a real one-on-one conversation. Like, yo, I agree. Like, I'm freaking with you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yo, I'm tracking. You know what I mean? I'm about to do a whole nother podcast talking about like music, and I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It depends. You know what I mean? If somebody comments and they're like, yeah, yo, do another podcast talking about music and stuff, then maybe I will. But other than that, I'm gonna assume people don't care about it. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be one of those out of sight, out of mind kind of things, and not in a negative way, but it's just like, if I don't know that somebody does want me to talk about it, like the way my mind works is, okay, what's the next best subject that somebody. Anyhow, again, hold for thoughts, yo, because I'm telling you, like, I'll have a thought, and this thought will be a good thought. It'll be a great thought, and I'll want to continue going in the direction of that thought, but then another thought will pop up, and that thought will look good, and it's like, yo, hold on, yo. This is a good thought over here, you know what I'm saying? And I'll start exploring that thought and want to explore that thought, and then within that thought, another thought might pop up. So, yeah, it's one of those type of things. Anyhow, I am almost an hour in right now. And I said I was going to be quick, and this was not quick, but it was fun. Especially being as late as it is, because I don't stay up this late. So, yeah, this was real. It was fun. It wasn't real fun because this is a hot hoodie, but man, it's my fault for wearing it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's been fun. So I'm done.